On the morning of September 11th, 2001, the world changed forever. What began as an ordinary day in New York City quickly turned into one of the darkest moments in modern history. The terrorist attacks on the World Trade Center were not just acts of violence. They were turning points that reshaped global politics, national security, and the lives of millions of people around the world. In this video, we will walk through the timeline of that tragic day, explore the motives behind the attacks, share the immediate and long-term impacts, and reflect on how 9/11 continues to shape our world today. Tuesday morning, September 11th, 2001. The skies over New York City were clear and blue.
Good evening. Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices, secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror.
The city bustled with its usual energy as millions of people went about their daily routines. Workers filled the streets, children attended school, and the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center stood tall and proud, symbols of American economic power and resilience. No one knew that within just a few hours, these skyscrapers would collapse in flames and dust, and the world would watch in disbelief. The attacks were meticulously planned by the terrorist organization Al-Qaeda, led by Osama bin Laden. 19 men boarded 4 commercial flights that morning, intending to use those planes as weapons. At 7:59 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 took off from Boston, heading to Los Angeles. Just 15 minutes later, the hijackers seized control. At 8:14 a.m., United Airlines Flight 175 also departed from Boston, with hijackers on board. At 8:20 a.m., American Airlines Flight 77 left Washington Dulles International Airport, also bound for Los Angeles. At 8:42 a.m., United Airlines Flight 93 took off from Newark, New Jersey, later than scheduled. Within minutes, all 4 flights would become part of the deadliest coordinated terrorist attack in history. At 8:46 a.m., the world was shaken. American Airlines Flight 11, traveling at nearly 500 miles per hour, slammed into the North Tower of the World Trade Center between the 93rd and 99th floors. The explosion created a massive fireball, sending smoke and debris into the clear sky. People on the streets below stared in shock. At first, many believed it was a tragic accident. News channels scrambled to cover the breaking story. Firefighters, police, and first responders rushed to the scene, unaware of what was still to come. Lower Manhattan live descended cameras into broadcast chaos. The burning North Tower. Streets filled with millions of terrified viewers people around the running world from falling witnessed debris. The unthinkable. Thousands tried to escape At the 9:03 a.m., while firefighters United climbed Airlines upward, Flight determined to rescue 175 those trapped. Struck the South Tower inside at the full building's speed. conditions were erupting horrific. into flames. Smoke and heat made it nearly impossible to breathe. America was Yet under countless attack. acts of bravery unfolded.
The
Twin Towers,
co-workers
once
helping each
symbols
other
of
down
prosperity,
stairwells,
were now
first
symbols of
responders
vulnerability,
risking their lives to reach those
the South
in need.
Tower leaned with
and
fire,
strangers
pouring
offering
from the
hands
impact
of
zone.
support.
And those trapped above
At
faced impossible
9:59 a.m.,
decisions.
just 56 minutes after being hit, the South Tower collapsed in a massive roar, sending a cloud of dust and debris through the streets of Manhattan. At 10:28 a.m., the North Tower followed. In less than 2 hours, both of the tallest buildings in New York had fallen. The skyline was changed forever. Nearly 3,000 lives were lost that day. Workers, firefighters, police officers, and everyday people who never imagined they would not return home. Families were shattered, and the entire nation was left in shock. While New York faced devastation, 2 other planes continued their missions. At 9:37 a.m., American Airlines Flight 77 crashed into the Pentagon, the headquarters of the U.S. Department of Defense, killing 125 people inside and all passengers on board. United Airlines Flight 93, the last hijacked plane, was headed toward Washington, D.C., believed to be targeting either the White House or the Capitol. But the passengers fought back. In a heroic struggle, they forced the plane to crash in a field in Pennsylvania at 10:03 a.m. Though all 44 people on board died, their courage prevented even greater tragedy. The attacks were orchestrated by Al-Qaeda, a radical Islamist group led by Osama bin Laden. Their ideology was rooted in hatred for U.S. influence in the Middle East and a desire to wage a so-called holy war. Bin Laden and his followers believed striking America's financial and military centers would weaken the nation and spread fear worldwide. Instead, the attacks sparked global outrage and a determined U.S. response. Within hours of the attacks, the United States government declared a national state of emergency. President George W. Bush addressed the nation, vowing justice for the victims. The following week saw massive security changes, from airport screenings to intelligence reforms. The attacks also led directly to the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan, marking the beginning of the War on Terror. For many Americans, the sense of safety they once felt was permanently gone. Beyond the politics, the human cost of 9/11 was immense. Families lost loved ones, children grew up without parents, and survivors carried trauma that would last a lifetime. In the days following the attacks, however, the world also witnessed extraordinary unity. Vigils, tributes, and acts of kindness poured in from across the globe. Americans stood together, determined to rebuild and honor the memory of those lost. 2 decades later, the legacy of September 11th remains powerful. The attacks reshaped international relations, intensified conflicts in the Middle East, and forever changed how nations approach security. In New York, the site of the Twin Towers is now home to the 9/11 Memorial and Museum, where the names of the victims are engraved in bronze. The memorial serves as both a place of mourning and a reminder of resilience. September 11th, 2001 was a day of terror, loss, and sorrow. But it was also a day that revealed extraordinary courage, unity, and resilience. As we look back, we honor the victims, the first responders, and the countless people whose lives were changed forever. The story of 9/11 is not only about tragedy, it is about remembrance, unity, and the determination to move forward, even in the face of unimaginable loss. The skyline of New York may have been altered, but the spirit of its people, and of the world that stood with them, remains unshaken.